I considered not to be fit to become a minister under President Kufuor, and I succeeded.
So that's
where the
general
comes from. In spite of all the insults, everything, you know, all MPs abandoning me, but I stayed on course and got him disqualified. And so somebody, the MPP, then said that I was operating like the then rebel leader in Sierra Leone.
Right.
That I have taken a rebellious position against all the members of parliament and succeeded. So I was behaving like General Mosquito of Sierra Leone.
Are you a difficult person?
I don't see myself as a difficult person, but maybe the better judges are the people I relate to.
I see.
I cannot be assessing myself, but I see myself as somebody who always strives to stay true to my principles.
How's the NDC doing under your watch?
Well, we are doing well. We are on course. And I believe that, inshallah, we may win the next election.
Inshallah and Takashi.
There's no Takashi there.
There are court cases that are hanging on some of your MPs.
Yeah.
The last time I remember, you went to a court with a generator and photocopier machine, and you were so prepared. What inspired that?
In actual fact, that court case has been hanging on the MPP MP, not an NDC MP.
Right.
You know about the famous case of Techman Saf.
That's right.
Where whatever happened in Techman Saf had never happened anywhere in our elections since the beginning of the Fourth Republic. Because we are told that our evidence is the pink sheet, which is distributed to all agents of political parties at the polling station where the initial declaration and, of course, the primary declaration of elections takes place. So when you come to collation center, it's just about addition of what has already been declared by the Electoral Commission at the polling station. So if there is a problem in there, it is capable of being corrected. And there was a conscious effort not to do collation.
By who?
And then by the Electoral Commission in connivance with the MPP. And then results were declared, and that's why we are in court. And when the citizens who cast their vote, who were standing by, decided to, you know, resist what was being done, how their votes was being subverted. And then you had the people parading themselves as security agents, shooting and killing people and maiming others in the crowd. And that's why we are in court. And so I always take precautions. And that was the first time we were going to be given a copy of the so-called collation sheet, because we maintain that there was no collation. Because if there is collation, there are protocols around how collation is done, and so on. Every party represented must get a copy of the results. A copy must be pasted in the hall where collation has taken place. And nothing of that sort had happened. And in fact, after the collation, I followed up with the team from headquarters to demand our copies of the documentation. Since there was no such documentation, it wasn't available to me. So it was only upon the orders of court that the Electoral Commission was being forced to get us our copy of the collation sheet, if indeed collation took place. This was resisted fiercely by the lawyers of both the Commission and the NPP. And eventually we requested that once we cite it, we are entitled to make copies. That too was resisted, but the judge stood his ground and said that we had copies. So, by some hunch, I believe that they could use some other means to prevent us from getting copies. If those means are technical, they could get away with it. And the means that came to my mind immediately was what happens if there is lights out such that no copy could be made.
So you thought
or there was a problem with the court's own photocopier. What happens? They will just say that, okay, because of technical reasons,
we cannot produce it.
So I thought ahead and then got a standby generator and a photocopier capable of making those copies. So, and lo and behold, when we went, the lights went off.
Hey!
So when the lights went off, I said, well, I have a generator, here. I have my photocopier here, so let's make the copy.
Whatever it is, I'm prepared for you.
Very well. So that was how come we got the copies.
What is your impression of your parliamentarians, the minority side in parliament?
Well, the beginning wasn't easy. We all had challenges with the approval of ministers and other things, but they have upped their game, and I must say that I'm very impressed about their performance so far.
You're a member of the Parliamentary Service Board.
Sure.
The last time I saw you in the gallery, I was there, and there was a division that was called, they wanted you out.
Yes.
How did you feel? They wanted you to go out.
I said that I was enjoying that show.
You enjoyed that show?
Very well, I was enjoying that show.
How is that?
Because this was some people who were insisting on non-existent rights. And so I felt that maybe it's out of ignorance or out of some mischief. And so I decided that, well, let me stay and enjoy it a little bit. So
you were enjoying yourself, but
very
people
well.
were at each other's neck.
Yes, because I wasn't on the floor of the house, and if anybody got any problem inside the chamber, I will not be affected. So I was enjoying
You were enjoying it.
Sure.
Because smoke.
I like people who display ignorance and think that they are serving their country or their party. Okay, so that's how come I was enjoying particularly a situation where a one-timer who was less than 6 months in Parliament giving orders to 25-year-old MPs in Parliament, and they were following sheepishly getting out. And it was a moment of enjoyment.
You have a very blunt knife. You can't do. What is your impression of President Akufo-Addo's governance?
Horrible.
Why do you say that?
Because that is my impression. You asked about my impression, not your impression or any other person.
I'm asking you, why is that?
That is a Sedunket's impression. Because, you know, the reason why I say it's horrible is that when somebody who has not read the Bible before, he has no idea about Jesus Christ or anybody, when that person commits a sin, I believe that even on the judgment day, the Lord may look favorably upon him. But it cannot be the same where somebody who claims to be a bishop or pope who knows everything about the Bible, who plead for forgiveness of sins on behalf of other people, if he is found committing the same sin as somebody who has never seen the Bible, that's so, then I believe the judgment will be harsher on that person, because he claims to be God's representative. So if he makes that mistake. And that is my impression about Nana Akufo-Addo. Many people don't know that I have related politically with Nana Akufo-Addo for so long, even before he came into government.
I see.
As students, he was our mentor. Nana Akufo-Addo led or was part of the fight against union government during the Champions era.
That's right.
And that was where we were coming of electoral age. So we saw him as a messiah, a mentor, the doyen of multi-party democracy, human rights lawyer, everything. So the organization which he was part of it, I was also following it keenly, People's Movement for Freedom and Justice. And so all his life from that time to the time he became president, In fact, his major selling point when he was campaigning to become president was that he was incorruptible.
That's right.
And he was a human rights advocate,
right.
and so on. These are the two major selling points. So even those of us who were opposing him from another political party, when he won, we said, well, this is somebody we have followed before, so maybe it may be good for the country. Let's see how he performs his duty as the leader who is now being called upon to implement what he has been preaching all along.
Right.
And so that's because of his performance that has deepened my, if you like, my disappointment. Okay?
You are disappointed?
Yes, very disappointed.
At his presidency?
Yes.
Why?
Because if he had died before becoming a president, all of us would have celebrated him as the best president of Ghana. That never was.
But now he's president, you are disappointed.
Now he has proven all of us wrong.
But he has given you one district, one factory,
he
one
has
village,
proven
one
all
dam,
of us wrong.
free SHS, all those things. You are not
Governance is not about those. I'll come to that in a
Right.
jiffy. But governance is about, when you read the Constitution, it tells you that it is our mandate as electors that we give to government.
That's right. The
To
preamble.
perform certain things like protecting us and all that on our behalf. And so we are seeking for freedom, justice, equality and all that. Accountability and all that. Nana Addo's government represents the negative side of all these virtues that have been preached in the
Are you not
Constitution.
being too harsh on him?
I'm not being harsh. Those are the things. You know, I'm not a diplomat. I never studied diplomacy anywhere, so I speak like I said in Katia that I am, and I don't want to pretend that I'm a diplomat.
So it's the direct opposite
Of
all the
everything
things.
that he has been preaching. Let's talk about, what do you call it? Freedom
Right.
of speech. Well, I thought that Nana Addo led the crusade against culture of silence, the introduction of media plurality and so on. You remember, I don't know how old you were, somewhere in 1993, thereabouts,
Right.
the case of Radio I.
Right. He was
Reku
Brobe's lawyer.
Yeah, he was
Right.
Reku Brobe's, and he was part of the leadership of the demonstration.
It's actually his lawyer who
Yes,
took
and
the
he's
matter to court.
The lawyer who took the matter to court. So if he gets the opportunity of becoming the president, and as a policy, he had to close down more than 100 radio stations when he was struggling to open one. He now has the opportunity to demonstrate his tolerance for media plurality. And the way he could demonstrate it is to close down more than 100 radio
They
stations.
said they owed.
Well,
They didn't pay their...
who said that Radio I at that time even had a frequency allocated to them to operate? They didn't even have a frequency. You are talking about some other radio stations that have been allocated frequencies.
That's right.
So even if they owe financially, it doesn't take away their right to broadcast. So that is one of the things.
You see, he missed the principle.
Yes.
That what he advocated for is totally different
He's
from what he's
practicing
doing
the opposite
when he is in power.
Yes, it's not just different. He's actually practicing the opposite.
The opposite, okay. and the second one is what?
The second one is about his preaching that the pen is mightier than the sword, and that soldiers had no role in governance, and that government should be undertaken by civilians, exclusively civilians. And he stood against even military officers who were on retirement. He stood against their appointment. I remember the case of Captain Krabia Ifadate,
Right.
who was being considered as a Minister of Interior also. Nana Addo and the others said that if Adate was a military man, even if he had retired, the fact that President Kufuor's government will present a military man as a Minister of Interior was wrongful enough. So they all kicked against it. And now you are in government, and you think that in a democracy, it is soldiers who should come in to be performing protective duties. I mean, and you deploy soldiers everywhere. He stood for free and fair elections. Everything he has practiced under his government is about him or his side winning, or else there is no democracy. Look at what happened in all the elections under his watch. Ayawaso was gone. You established a commission yourself. We kicked against it. In fact, at that time, I declined an invitation to appear before the commission because I felt that it was a waste of time.
Really?
Yes. I said that it was a waste of time.
But you could have helped.
No. How? Even the report that was prepared without my inputs, how has it been implemented? Nothing. It was just wasting everybody's time and then pulling wool on people's eyes that he was engaged in, justice and all that. So that is also an area of disappointment. Electoral matters. Look at Ayawaso, what happened? Look at what happened in Techiman. It's all horrible. So you wouldn't think that somebody who has spent all his life advocating for true democracy, one is given the opportunity to showcase his beliefs. This is what he will show us.
You are suggesting that Nana Addo has calmed all of us.
Yes.
He has calmed us.
Not all of you, some of you. At least I know he has not calmed you as a person. Because I've been following.
But you feel scammed by the president?
No,
that he told you A and he's doing C?
Yes. I believe that he's been playing what I have read somewhere called monkey business.
Monkey business. I see.
He's been playing monkey business with Ghanaians.
You have been in power before.
Yeah.
If you had a chance to meet the president, what would you say to him?
Oh, I have met him in some social occasions like FINRA and so on. And he had complained about me attacking him publicly, and I said that because I'm disappointed about.
You told him that?
Yes.
And what was his reaction?
Oh, we all laughed and got away.
Just like that?
Just because the time we were following him as when I was a student.
Right.
I believe sincerely that this is a man who, when given the opportunity, will change things in this country. Well, he has changed things, but he has changed things for the West.
Let me put you in Nana Addo's seat now.
Yeah.
Which of his ministers would you ask to go?
Well, he won't ask anybody to go anyway, so he wouldn't have asked anybody to go. So if I'm in his shoes, it will be the same.
Yeah, sure about that.
Yeah, but who has he asked to go before? Even DCs. He doesn't have the courage to even dismiss a DCE. You hear about DCE suspended. Before he became president, I had never heard of anybody suspending DCE. They just sacked the person. When Captain Major Mahama died, the DCE around whom all those scandals surrounded, he couldn't sack him. Suspended him and later reinstated him. All this that is happening in Takoradi. Your secondary Takoradi.
You suspended him.
I'm saying that this is... he will call him back later.
You know him so well.
Yes. You call him back later. So, when it comes to justice, I thought he would believe so much in fair and unbiased justice. But what he has demonstrated amounts to finding loopholes in the justice system to exploit so that he can have his way, but will maintain a facade that there is justice.
Let's go to Ejura. You saw what happened in Ejura.
Yes, I did.
You heard the committee and the hearings, the report. What are your own thoughts about Ejura?
Oh, I have expressed my disappointment about the committee, even though the key person on that committee happened to be my lecturer, Vladimir.
Professor Vladimir.
Yes. I had opportunity to tell all our mates that our professor got it wrong.
How did he get it wrong?
In fact, when he was appointed, I expressed fear that, well, MPP is at it again, and they always want somebody with a good image to go and rob his image of some wrongdoing, and then they will destroy you and dump you. So I was scared from the beginning that they were going to destroy Professor Danso. And I told some of my mates, and lo and behold, the report that came out, I believe it has done more damage to the image of Professor Danso than good. So, if you want a summary, I'm just sparing you the effort of moving from one scenario to another. If you want a summary of Nana Addo's approach to governance, is that deceive the people.
He deceived the people.
Yes, deceive the people, but create the impression that you are for their protection, whilst you find means you try to follow the form of justice, but not the content. Always find some cover to allow the president to have his way. Even if he's engaged in illegality, let's find some cover. So he's quick, dictators and authoritarians who engage in that type of governance. They are quick to establish committees to whitewash every wrongdoing that they have done. And then they will come and say, oh, but the committee recommended this, the committee recommended that. Before he asks you to take your matter to court, he knows that he finds a way of choosing the judge who will be sitting on your case. And when the judge is sitting on a case in which government is interested, they will promote the judge and withhold the promotion, awaiting the conclusion of the case. So that it is a veiled
These are serious matters you are talking about.
Very serious matters. There are concrete examples all over there. Go and ask the lawyers.
That the promotion is done, but you hold on to it pending the...
You must finish this thing so that... the judge who...
So do this and let me do it.
The judge who has been sitting on this Dr. Opuni's case and so on, hasn't he himself said in open court that he wants to finish this thing to go and do his work at the Supreme Court? It's on record. He's on record to have said it. So I'm not framing anything. Okay? If you have, a government which says that, okay, let's go to court, then he will go and select his own judge. When there was this pronouncement on the floor of court, which seems to suggest that the judge was biased, and even the case went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that, in fact, the judge must be changed. When the Attorney General went back to apply for review, his commentary all over was that the accused should not be allowed to choose his own judge. You have accused me. I am not in charge of choosing judges. I can only say that this particular judge
should recuse himself.
Right. Does that amount to me choosing the judges? What about you who are accusing me and you want to impose your own judge? Which of the two scenarios is better for justice and democracy in our country?
Let's stay in Parliament.
Yeah.
Some of your members of Parliament are before the court.
Yeah.
To forcing, for example, ambulance and all of that. What are your own thoughts?
If I had finished painting the style of governance of Nana Addo, maybe all these questions would have been answered.
Would have painted everything.
Yes. You see, typical Nana Addo.
I want to chop it bit by bit.
Typical Nana Addo. When you are tackling him here, he wants to use something else to tell you that, look, you either stop what you are doing or I'll do this to you. That is typically Nana Addo. And it didn't start from here. When he was Attorney General. And they were complaining at that time that President Rawlings was talking too much, and everybody, they used the media to appeal to President Rawlings. He should stop talking and so on. And he insisted that he would not stop talking. What did Nana Addo do? He withdrew all the courtesies and privileges of President Rawlings. Are you surprised that the same Nana Addo, when he is president, will not be behind the withdrawal of security for Urban Bagbin? People forget about things so easily because that is his footprint. That is how he behaves. Okay? The radio stations which were selected and closed down, you remember some of them were carrying a press conference being held by us in our party headquarters. And in that process, they descended on the radio station and closed it down. Now he comes out to say that, oh, they were owing and all that. This is just a ruse. So anybody who knows him knows what he's capable of doing. There is this culture of silence in this country because of the culture of fear and intimidation. He knows that he cannot misuse the regular security services to do his bidding if what he's asking for is wrong.
Right.
So what does he do? He establishes an illegal army made up of, vigilantes and other people, groups, some of them at national security, and use them to do all the dirty work. A lawyer and a former attorney general, when you become a president, then under your watch, thugs are mobilized from your party to go and invade a court that was sitting. A former member of parliament, under your watch, military and security were deployed to invade the floor of parliament, to bully and intimidate members of parliament. How low could he sink?
Are you a member of the Parliamentary Service Board? Have you raised these questions?
No, you see, many people misunderstand the work of Parliamentary Service. Parliamentary Service Board has very little to do with what happens on the floor of House. Parliament is different from Parliamentary Service.
Right.
Parliamentary Service is the organization that supports, it's a support service to Parliament to be able to conduct its business. So our regular businesses, if you like, will deal with recruitment of persons, personnel, human resource activities, okay, budgeting for the things that you need to provide to facilitate the work of Parliament. But we have no say in how Parliament conducts its business on the floor.
Okay.
So I go to Parliament to observe the debates, not because of my position as a parliamentary,
but
a member of the Parliament,
General Secretary,
citizen of Ghana first, former member of Parliament who should be interested in what goes on in Parliament, and then the General Secretary.
Not many people know that you're a former member of Parliament.
I've been a member because maybe somehow my constituency's name has been changed. In fact, the constituency has been split into two, and none of the two carries the original name. So many people have forgotten about Wenchi West. I was the member of Parliament for Wenchi West for 12 years.
Okay. You were in Parliament the day e-levy became a problem.
Yes, I was in the public gallery.
What is your own thought about e-levy?
Well, I think I was about the first person to speak against e-levy after the reading of the budget. If you check the records, I was the first to address the press.
But I'm asking, have you changed your mind?
I haven't changed my mind.
1.75 to 1.5.
I haven't changed my mind at all. In fact, the day the budget was being read, I was sitting there with one official from Ministry of Finance and the wife of the Minister of Finance. We were sitting and we're holding discussions on the side. And I did, when they mentioned the abolition of the road toll, the guy turned out and said, "Oh, we have finished you guys. General, are you not worried? We have finished you." I said, "Why?" I said, "Abolition of road tolls." I said, "That is a very retrogressive move of any government. And maybe they are using it to play some pranks. So wait and hear the full budget." And lo and behold, they then mentioned this e-levy matter. So I got out and I addressed the press conference that saying all the things I felt about the e-levy. And as time passes on, I get more convinced that e-levy should not pass.
Are you not making the job of the government difficult with your resistance to the e-levy?
If the job of the government is corruption and lack of accountability, then I have a duty to make the job of the government difficult. But if
you think that the government is corrupt?
Am I the one telling you? Are you hearing it for the first time? You are a media person. Go and look at the records. How have we performed on the corruption perception index when this government came to power? Apart from that, the litany of scandals, I hope you've been following them. And so it is not Asidun Ketia who said, if I'm saying it, I'm just repeating the obvious. That this is, according to the records, this is the most corrupt government ever in the Fourth Republic. Okay, and this is the government that feels that they can use impunity to avoid accountability. So if you have a human rights lawyer presiding over a country and operatives of his government claim that because they are in power, they can do whatever they want. And when they are called to account for government expenditure, and then ministers are bold to tell Ghanaians in their face that they would not account for some aspects of state expenditure, then we are not operating a proper democracy. In fact, our democracy is limping.
See, have you heard the thoughts of people say that the NDC is not ready to lead Ghana again, and that you must wait for breaking the 8 to come and go before you come back? Have you heard that?
You see, some of these things are coming from disappointed voters on the side of MPP. In fact, it started like that, but now it is no longer. That expression is dying down. Okay, because
why is it
a process of changing your mind, it's a process particularly about the party you want to vote for. When your party begins, like, misbehaving in government, you are not bold to point it out first. First, oh, let's give them more time. Let's give them more time. Then you come to a point where, as for this, is bad. But okay, when you are asked, whom did you vote for? I didn't vote. that's what it is. I didn't vote. Then they move to a point where, oh, I'm not going to vote again because NDC and MPP are the same. These are all rhetorics of people, disappointed voters for MPP. So it gets to a point where if they are able to get over that, then they begin saying that, well, we don't like NDC, but as we sit here, it is the only means of removing this bad government. So this government is not representative of typical MPP government.
Right.
So even though I'm MPP, I'm prepared to support NDC to remove this particular aberration. Okay, so that is the process that is happening now. You see that many of the people who are calling for the removal of this government are not even coming from NDC. They're coming
MPP
from
people
MPP people.
Who are disappointed.
Disappointed because you see, in political practice, you get to a point where you apply a theory that says that losing an election may be better than losing a democracy.
Okay.
Losing an election may be better than losing a democracy. If the political gatekeeping of, selection of leadership fails at a point, a wrong person can sneak through and lead your party and then be implementing policies that run counter to your party's core beliefs, and that threaten to undermine the democracy of the state, of the country you live in. When you get to that point, then the establishment within that party may feel like the best way to save the democracy is to abandon their candidate who is in government and support the opponents to remove him. It will involve that party losing an election because it is their candidate who is in power. But they believe that losing that election will be better than losing a democracy, because if they allowed that person to persist, to continue, the whole democratic experiment may collapse. And that is where we are now as a country.
We are at
that is why you hear prominent MPP people, people you least expect will speak against this government. They are now speaking up because they think that MPP losing power or Nana Addo's government losing power will help to even protect the long-term interests of MPP itself and our democracy.
So you say Nana Addo is a wrong choice?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
I don't have any guess.
You don't have any guess.
You are the General Secretary.
Now, if you want to follow my guess, my answer is yes.
That Nana Addo is a wrong bet.
Yes, and Kufuor had the premonition when he spoke in so many words that we should be careful not to put somebody there who is full of tension, who is this, who is that, who is that. Everything that President Kufuor said on that occasion has come to pass. And it's a perfect representation of what President Kufuor said. It's Nana Addo and his governance.
My guest in the studio is General Asedu Nketia, he's the General Secretary of the NDC. He's also here with me in the studio. We're live on 3FM 92.7 and on TV3. I see your comments on social media already. General, you are trending on social media. Are you on social media?
Yes, but I don't have too much time concentrating on social media.
But you are trending this morning.
Yes.
How does it feel?
Well, it feels good if it is. I'm trending for the good reasons.
Yeah.
It feels good. But
do you trust in the security of this country?
That is too wide a question to
given what is
yes
happening in the
no.
sub-region, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso.
Oh, okay, where we are now.
Right. Do you trust in our securities?
I think that we are in a very precarious situation.
Why?
Because political contentment is always the greatest enemy of any political agitator. And the reverse is also true. The best friend of any political agitator is political discontent.
Right.
And if you see the type of discontent that is playing out in Ghana, economic discontent, social discontent, political discontent, it's a dangerous recipe. So we should all be concerned. And the fact that government is not prepared to learn, the fact that government has consciously recruited vigilantes and embedded them in the security services, it's a very dangerous thing. And the fact that people are complaining about recruitments based on ethnicity and the others. When you take the history of other countries,
Rwanda,
even Togo,
that's right.
Here there are crises and everything. Anywhere you begin introducing ethnicity in the security services, you are up for trouble. And my uncle Buzia learned this through the hard way. You know, a champon who overthrew Buzia. He was promoted and put in charge of the presidential security on the basis that they needed an Akan to head that security. The very day, history tells us that the very day Achampong was promoted and put in that sensitive situation, that was the very day he started planning to overthrow Buzia. And the coup that overthrew Buzia, many of the key actors were Boros and Ashantis, his own tribesmen. So it doesn't help anybody to try to introduce ethnicity in the security, because if you divide the security along ethnic lines or political lines and so on, you are headed for trouble.
Right. Someone told me when I advertised your program that you were going to be here that the Speaker of Parliament is now wearing local and regal stuff, but he's going for healthcare in Dubai. Then I should ask you, what do you think about it as a member of the Parliamentary Service Board?
What is the contradiction here?
He said the Speaker says we should practice made in Ghana, but is going for healthcare elsewhere.
I thought the one who has been preaching buy made in Ghana has been the president himself.
Right.
And where does he go for medical care? And Speaker is not responsible for building hospitals. It is the president who is responsible for building hospitals and providing medical care. So if he is going outside for medical treatment, why should anybody question the Speaker when he goes out for medical?
Do you think the government promised too much? Akufo-Addo's government, Agenda 111, all those things. Do you think they promised too much?
In fact, they failed too much. The problem is not about the promise. The problem is about the failure rate. The failure rate
is too much for you.
Too much. And it creates the impression of people who consciously planned to come and deceive the people and get away with it. So when you remember I mentioned this monkey business. I read in some book about, I didn't understand monkey business until I read about it in some book. And the meaning of monkey business, there was a story that was used to illustrate the monkey business, that a merchant approached a village where monkeys, there was a monkey sanctuary there by like Tafia Tome or Wabin Fiema and all that. Then he offered to buy one monkey for £100 sterling.
Wow.
And the people, this man, it couldn't be true. Why would he be wasting money like that? Let's try. So they caught a few monkeys, presented to him, and he paid £100 for each of the monkeys. Then they say, oh, then it is true. Some days after, people started trooping and selling. You go to the bush, catch a monkey, come and sell. Then, some few days afterwards, he increased the price. And now he will be buying monkeys for £200. Then the rush continued.
Right. People were coming in.
People were coming in, and the monkey population was depleting. Then he got to a point, and he was now offering £500 sterling for one monkey. Meanwhile, the monkey population has depleted so badly, so people rushed and went and caught all the remaining monkeys, came and sold for £500 each, and the merchant paid. He had built a big cage and had 2 agents taking care of the cage. Then, when there appears to be no other monkey remaining, he now offered that he will buy, if you could get a monkey, he will pay £1,000 sterling for one monkey. Then the villagers combed the bush, they couldn't get the monkey. They were so worried. Why couldn't we have waited to get this price?
Right.
Then the merchant told them that he was taking a leave for 1 week, and then he will come back. But when he comes back, he will buy one monkey for £1,000 sterling. So he went. He started combing. Then one of his agents, 2 agents, went to town and whispered to people that, oh, if you can come, we'll be able to sneak some of the monkeys we have bought behind our boss's back and then sell them to you at £700. So that when he comes and you sell for £1,000, you still make cool £300. The following day, all the villagers came and queued up and bought all those who didn't have money went to borrow and all that. Those who had money were buying 4, 5 monkeys, 10 monkeys. They came and bought all the monkeys and paid £700 each. The following day, the 2 agents also vanished. They waited. The merchant himself never came. His 2 agents also vanished. So the villagers were stuck with their own monkeys. But their monies have been taken away. In this situation, you know who I will put in the shoes of the merchant?
No.
Nana Addo.
Nana Addo is the monkey business owner.
Yes.
And he vanished.
The 2 others. He said that, he has taken leave, so he will come back. The 2
merchants, the assistants, acolytes.
Yes.
They are who?
Finance Minister and Dr. Baumia.
So Nana Addo is the monkey business owner who vanished.
And his agents,
Dr. Baumia and Finance Minister. But why those ones?
Because they are the ones who play the tricks. Oh, come and buy, so that when our boss comes, you can resell and make money. So they came and bought the monkeys, so they didn't have to carry the monkeys away. They bought them, took all the money. So when they left, there was no pursuit with anybody in the village again. That is where we are now. We are at a point where the merchant has taken leave, and his agents are urging us to buy monkeys behind the scenes so we can resell to the monkey when he comes back in town.
The president will not be happy with you.
He's entitled to his opinion. I have never wished he will be happy with me.
Are you able to afford fuel these days?
Well, yes. I buy fuel.
Have you seen the price?
The price is high, but I have no option.
What runs through your mind when you get to the filling station and you see the price flicking?
Well, I squeeze other things to be able to buy fuel because my job has to be done. And part of my job is to make sure we see the back of this government. So I cannot just throw my hands in the air and say that because fuel is expensive, I will not do my work. So I will continue buying and make sure that we persist till we remove the government.
What do you say to those who say the NDC is not ready to govern?
Well, they may be. In a democracy, everybody is entitled to his opinion, but I'm afraid that is not the dominant opinion.
Are you ready to govern?
We are very, very ready to govern.
What makes you ready?
Except that the challenges that we are having, we are already having to go to the drawing board and prepare ourselves, because 2025 is not going to be easy.
Why do you say that?
Because we are going to be handed over to, it's an economy that is a shell. If we are even able to keep our heads above water till 2024, 2025 will be a difficult year. So we shouldn't make any fuss about it. Don't let us delude ourselves. Whoever comes to power in 2025 will inherit a very difficult economy. And we are prepared for that, because there must be a break. We must stop the decay first.
Okay. Before you can build. I see.
Okay. And we have done it before. In the revolution, we're doing, the country was running negative GDP numbers, annual negative GDP numbers, until the revolution came, 1983. By 1984, we have, migrated into positive GDP numbers, and we have remained there since that time to now. Okay, so we have taken over a hopelessly devastated economy before, and we're able to fix it. So we are expecting to take over another hopelessly devastated economy, but we will fix it, and we will make sure that the way to fix it and to earn the people's trust is to be open and frank to the people. Don't deceive them that things are good when they are feeling that things are not good. Then you are preaching everywhere that
do you trust the Electoral Commission?
As it is composed now, no.
Why? You have a problem with some of the composition of the Electoral Commission?
I have said so several times. And
Jim
I
Mensah,
still
Bosman Asari, Tete.
The country will do better with another set, but we are stuck with them. So we will still win the elections with them in the seat.
Are you sure
because
about that?
when the people decide, and the decision is so overwhelming, it becomes difficult for anybody to fidget around. I lived through the union government. I was in fact a party agent, a polling agent, not a party, because there were no political parties. I was a polling agent representing the no camp, which Nana Addo was championing at that time. So it was because I was following PMFJ with Nana Addo that I volunteered to be a polling agent.
Right.
After the election, I had to carry the ballot box for 5 miles to the collation center.
On your head?
Yes.
5 miles?
5 miles to the collation center. So I've gone through all those. And that is why, if I express my disappointment about how one of our leaders who has gotten the opportunity to govern this country has, messed us up like that, I feel very hurt.
There's a report that says that political party funding engenders corruption. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes, I've seen it.
What are your thoughts?
And I've contributed to it. In fact,
do you agree, first of all, with the report?
Yes.
That it engenders corruption?
Yes.
And what do you do as General Secretary?
You see, not many people know that I did my research at master's level on corruption.
Okay.
You know what?
That was your specialty?
Yes. So my whole research was on corruption. And because of that, with special focus on the role Parliament can play and anti-corruption infrastructure in the Fourth Republic, with special emphasis on Parliament and so on. So I did a lot of research on corruption. And one of the inescapable conclusions that emerged from that research was that one of the main causes of corruption is political campaign funding. And that is why corruption, because political campaign funding is the cause of winner takes all.
That's right.
Okay. Winner takes all will mean dodging or breaching procurement processes and all that. And see, the government is the biggest consumer in Ghana. So where government procurement becomes problematic, all other causes of corruption fade into insignificance. And so if this nation must move forward, we must find out how we can deal with campaign funding that contributes to winner takes all, and so on.
Right.
People complain about the Constitution, that the Constitution has provided for winner takes all.
Do you support
I don't think that the Constitution, I don't think that the Constitution per se provides for winner takes all. But the Constitution has not provided sufficient safeguards to prevent winner takes all.
So will you
but the Constitution itself,
the composition of the Constitution?
The problem is not about the Constitution per se, even though I agree that there are a lot of things that could be improved in the Constitution. But I believe, as some philosophers have said, that democracy or democratic people are the ones who build democracy. People who believe, who have a sense of fairness, who have a sense of justice, who have a sense of accountability, responsibility and all that. Those are the people who can build a democracy.
Okay.
It is not democratic structures that produce human beings who suddenly will be having a sense of justice, sense of fairness, all that. You understand? So the democratic structures are there.
Right.
They are a precondition.
Right.
But the more important ingredients that create democracy is the attitude of the people who are handling the democratic structures.
So the people must support the Constitution.
Yes. So the leaders. The Bible says you have, it is not everything that you have freedom to do.
That's right.
That is useful. So if anything at all, the Constitution allows a sitting president a lot of powers. But in the use of those powers, you can abuse
discretionary powers.
You can abuse those powers to build a dictatorship. Much the same way, you can exploit those powers to build a good democracy.
I see.
So that is the problem with the Constitution. That is why I don't believe that the Constitution should be thrown away hook, line, and sinker. But we can reform it.
I see.
But when we are reforming it, we must be conscious of the fact that if you restrictions on the use of power is a double-edged sword. If the Constitution is built such that every act of a president is regulated in a certain manner, you end up tying the hands of somebody who may be a good president. His impact will not be felt.
But it
will help us to check.
Are you not calling for dictatorship?
No.
I'm saying what you're saying.
Look, the American Constitution is about 1/10 of our Constitution.
Right.
You see.
In fact, the British don't have any.
Yes, the principles are sufficient. The people who operate the American democracy and the British democracy, they believe in conventions and norms. Democratic norms constitute the grease of every democracy. So you may have the structures, you may have the laws and so on. Do you know that Ghana has one of the largest, highest number of legislation against corruption and all that, and the largest number of institutions that should fight corruption. Why is it that corruption is still persisting in the country? It tells you that democracy is not in the books or in the constitution. Right. It's the human beings who operate those things. So if the human beings devote their time, after you have made the law against stealing, if the people who operate the constitution, they devote their time to look at the loopholes of the law, to continue with the stealing, in spite of the law, stealing will not stop.
Can I pick your thoughts on manifestos and the National Development Planning Commission, their 40-year development plan? You started it.
Yes.
You can Animo Thompson.
That we miss a very big opportunity.
Why?
Because you see, we all have been saying it, academics, everybody, politicians and so on, say that what the nation needs to move forward is a development plan.
But you created a plan, 40-year development
plan.
What happened to it?
That's not the first one we created.
Right.
We created Vision 2020.
That's right.
Those days we thought that 2020 was so far away.
Growth and Poverty Reduction Strategy 1 and 2.
So we did Vision 2020. When Vision 2020 was being done, we did the consultation as widely as possible. And we thought that it will form the basis of driving our economic development. When President Kufuor came, for some reason, they decided that Vision 2020 is somebody's document. We are not going to work with it. So they called Professor Jambafo. That time I was in Parliament. And taxed him.
Minister for Planning.
And taxed him to develop another document. I was on the Finance Committee.
In Parliament.
And each time we met, he would be saying in private that this document, I don't see anything wrong with the Vision 2020. But for political reasons, we have been asked to make another document. He was saying it privately. So they themselves knew that Vision 2020 was a good document, but for political reasons, because it is bearing the stamp of a previous government, they are not going to use it. They must bring out another one. That's how come they brought this poverty reduction, whatever. So we missed that first opportunity.
I see.
Now this 40-year development plan, luckily for the country, we started it, but we never concluded it before we left power. So if there has been a transition and another government has come, they could as well input everything they wanted to input into it before its conclusion, so that we cannot say that we are not part of it. So when we come back to power, we cannot abolish it. And because it was concluded during President Akufo-Addo's time, MPP will also endorse it. That would have been the best opportunity.
A blueprint for us.
A blueprint for our development. But we missed that opportunity also.
What's your promise?
Because,
if you come back to power, would you go back to it?
These people brought it. When you were president, you congratulated them for a good work done, and yet you felt that
what's your promise, General? Would you go back to it when you come back to power?
It is not about one party bringing it when you come back to power, because development plans cannot be implemented within the 8 years lifetime that any government will spend. That is why we must look for opportunities to get something that will have a buy-in of the major political actors, so that we accept this as our development plan. So the incidence of abandonment of projects of previous government leading to accumulation of debts and so on, that has brought us where we are now. We can limit it. Otherwise, this all I have said elsewhere, that we are where we are now, on the brink of economic disaster by choice. It is not God that imposed this thing on us.
It's by choice. We did it
ourselves.
It's
our collective, yes, our choice. that has brought us where we are.
But we have leaders.
Because that is why I'm saying by our choice, because the choice is made by our leaders. When this government took over, in fact, before this government took over, we had gone into economic difficulties.
Right.
When President Kufuor was leaving, in fact, President Kufuor was lucky because of this debt forgiveness and all that, so he had a lot of money. So that money could have been used in a better way. Nevertheless, he handed over an economy that was relatively stable. But he imposed something on us that haunted us.
Which is?
In the last quarter of his administration, he announced single spine.
Right.
So immediately we took over, all the workers of the country said, if Kufuor had been in power, this single spine would have been implemented. If MPP had won the election, so we must go implement single spine, otherwise. So the first 4 years was a very turbulent moment for us. All workers, you remember at a point, doctors were on strike, and Professor Mills had to mount a tent at 37 military hospital here. And so we went through all those difficulties and said that, okay, let's go and try and implement this single spine. Even the World Bank and the IMF warned us that it may not be a good thing, but we didn't have any option because of that pressure that was wanted. So we went and did it. The results of the implementation of single spine was that at the end of the implementation, we ended up having close to 70% of the nation's revenue going into wages and salaries. So we felt this was not sustainable. So we must do something about it. We tried so many things and ended up calling a national economic forum at Senche.
Right.
Open the books for everybody to look at.
The MPP boycotted that.
Yes. Then some people, some MPP members actually attended.
MPP was there.
He was their economic guru. Right. He attended. Osafo Mafo indicated his willingness to attend. On his way, he was called back and warned that he shouldn't go. So we did this. And then eventually we went to IMF, and then it helped us manage.
Should Ghana go back to the IMF?
So we went in the 2016 elections under an IMF program.
Should Ghana go back to the
restricted, IMF? If I could end just 2 minutes.
Our time is up.
Just 2 minutes. So
forgive me.
We ended, we went through that austerity in the elections. And the projections were that 2017, whatever, the economic growth rate will pick back. The salary to whatever had gone down as a percentage of revenues, had gone down, and it continued going down. Then you took over and then began borrowing, began appointing so many ministers, so many other appointees, each of whom will all come with salary and other emoluments and so on. So we kept warning that this increase in recurrent expenditure, it is going to lead us to a situation where the monies that we will be borrowing will come to a point where we will not be able to pay even the interest on loans. Today, we are here, and interest on loans alone takes about half of the revenue. So we go to borrow.
The government doesn't want to go back to the IMF, should they?
You see, they are presenting this IMF thing as if it is something that
that's my final question.
We ought to be scared of. IMF is an organization, a bank, in fact, which we joined as a sovereign country on our own free will, and we said that when we are in trouble, you go, when we need their services, we go for it. And IMF has a lot of products. Okay, if your economy is doing extremely well and you need IMF support, you go for it to still move your
I know you have a lot to say, but should we go back to the IMF?
I will come to that.
So you see,
if you mess up, then when you go to IMF, they will impose conditions on you to make sure that you implement the right policies. Those right policies are what this government is afraid of, because it will help to curb this ostentatious spending and other things. So it will tie the hands of government so they cannot do this thing.
Bottom line, should we go back to the IMF?
I think it is something that they have to consider.
Because
if that is the only way we can get out of this mess, then the earlier we went there, the better.
Are you running again for office in your party?
We are not there yet. We haven't opened nominations.
Are you running again for General Secretary, Chairman?
I'm saying we are not there yet.
Do you want to be president?
We are not there yet. Who has opened nominations for presidential?
Do you want to be president?
I am saying that we are not there yet. If you are if you are a politician, you always aspire to occupy the highest office of the land.
I see.
So as a politician, if you ask me whether I want to be a president, I'll say yes.
I see. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite song? Was it
Chase Those Crazy Ball Heads Out of Town?
Okay, Danny, look for that for me. Chase Those Crazy Ball Heads. That's your camera. I'll give you 1 minute. Look into the camera and tell me. Danny, look for a Bob Marley. Chase Those Crazy Ball. Who's the bald head, by the way?
Ball Heads Out of Town.
Who's the bald head, by the way?
Well, don't you know the definition of bald heads?
That's your camera. Your closing thoughts.
Somebody who has no hair.
That's your camera. Closing thoughts.
Yes. I think that the country is in difficulty now, but nobody will do it for us. We need to come together and recognize first that we are in trouble, because if you don't recognize that you are in trouble, nobody will help you. Then you are not deserving of anybody's assistance. So let us recognize that the nation Ghana, where we are standing now, economically, socially, security-wise, we are not on safe grounds at all. There's a lot of things that we need to do to recalibrate this our society.
Right.
And it will take me and you to do it. That's why I always watch Johnny's Bite.
The general watches Johnny's Bite.
Every day.
Thank you very much.
And it's devoid of insults, but straight to the point, factual and fearless.
Thank you very much. General Asidun Getia has been my guest. We have been live on 3FM 92.7, and Yao Ofosulabi is ready with all the action on sports. Yesterday, Obia Huni Master. So, good morning to the Black Stars of Ghana. We'll see you after the break.